Hello, dear beloveds. Well, I'm here today, I guess, for a bit of a ramble. It's been a little while since I came on live. For those of you who were paying attention to what we were doing on the Institute page last week, we took the entire week off posting, off sharing. I took an entire week off working and really, as much as possible, stepped out of being in the role of principal of the Institute, but I also advised Rachel, who does our Facebook posting, just to take a pause, and it felt really appropriate at that time to just quiet down the noise of everything and really to go within. And part of that was my response to Black Lives Matter and sharing resources to my community through our newsletter and making sure that our position as an institute is really clear, but then stepping back and kind of stepping away from adding any more of my opinion to the world or my ideas, and just making some space. And as a mystic, of course, stillness, silence and solitude is absolutely vital to my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, my emotional health, and that's really what I was being called into. And one of my soon to graduate third level priestesses, Kelly Fulker, actually asked a question of me in our group I Am Spiritually Fierce, which I didn't answer, but I will answer now, which is, one of her fears about stepping into spiritual leadership is that there would be no time to actually be the mystic. I think is what she was asking or suggesting, is that that's a fear for her, is how do you then kind of privilege that stillness and silence and solitude? And the answer, Kelly, is very good scheduling. I had scheduled last week off months before, and really, my calendar is scheduled 18 months to 2 years in advance, and that's and I don't mean like in a kind of abstract way, I mean like dates and times of where I need to be, and if I don't look at that and really kind of make plans for downtime, time to go within, time to just switch off, time to not be in charge of everything, then it would be really easy to burn out. So really good scheduling is a big part of that, and of course having an amazing VA school administrator in Michelle is a huge benefit, because I can really see very clearly what's coming up for me. But that's very much part of it. There's a kind of, for me, my freedom comes from actually anchoring into things, and the more that I can plan and schedule, the higher and freer and lighter I can go, which may sound like a paradox, but actually, if I was vague about the details of where I needed to be, what I needed to be doing, with programs that run for 18 months, it would be chaos. So yes, very clear scheduling, and really, having the privilege of knowing that I have the human resources around me and the support to be able to do that is just vital. And I think this is a really big thing about creating your service in proportion to what is available, because, that will always grow. And with your abundance, you can bring in more human resourcing. And that's a huge, always been a huge kind of intention of my work, is to ensure that there's balance. But that downtime has been really beautiful, and I must admit I'm very slow this week. I'm coming back into this week very gently. I'm like, is it Wednesday already? Because I'm still behaving like it's early Monday morning, and I'm okay with that. And I want to share with you a little of the work that I'm doing right now, because we're currently between terms for our third level priestesses who are halfway through. We are wrapping up one group of the third level who are about to complete. We're assessing their final case studies right now. All of their coursework has been submitted. They will be notified by the end of the month of the status of their the graduation. And we are also today doing the very final training module for the current postgraduate group, who will be completed by the end of this month. So it's a really kind of extraordinary moment for me, where I have much less kind of teaching, student facing time, and there's this beautiful space to review, reflect, make decisions about what we take forward, because of course the next group of postgrads will begin at the end of July. So there's this great opportunity, this beautiful kind of pause between the programs to really assess, when you have this many students and this many programs in play at one time, for me, it could be, it's easy just to kind of keep rolling, but that's not going to ensure that I'm offering the very, very best. Sitting in that stillness, part of that is that contemplation and that reflection. So the deep work that I'm doing right now, which is so at odds with my nature, I'm very big picture. I'm ideas generator. I create ideas. And the discipline for me is how to kind of anchor into the details to ensure that those ideas become really the fullest expression. And part of that for me is having an amazing team of people around me, because you've got to know your strengths, right? You've got to know what your natural areas are and how you best contribute to your service in the world. So at the moment, the work that I'm doing, which is really kind of helping anchor me into the details and making sure that all of the services that I offer are the best they can be, is reviewing our assessments for the third level and for the incoming postgrads. So this means really, really looking at the nuances of what is the purpose of the assessments. And I really want to touch on this. It may not sound sexy and exciting, but one of the big points of difference of the Institute to me, and from my survey of what's available out there in training courses in the spiritual world, is that we model ourselves on an academic model. So we have academic rigor, we have intensive assessment processes, we invest heavily in those assessments being assessed by our qualified mentors who've all walked the path of the third level before. We spend a lot of time and money creating these incredible opportunities for students to actually be able to measure their growth. So it's vital to me that you don't sign up to the Institute and think that you're part of a program where you just turning up, doing the absolute bare minimum is going to get you qualified, because it isn't. This really is, you can think of the third level as like a 3-year undergraduate degree, even though we do it in a year. And of course, the postgrad is the postgrad. There's such a necessity for the students to demonstrate the integration and receipt of the information, both through philosophy and praxis. So theory and practice. We don't just say, okay, turn up, we'll give you a certificate, you can go out into the world and call yourself an intuitive guide or a spiritual director. We will evidence your learning, and we will assess it rigorously, and we will make sure that you feel confident that you are gaining a qualification that has been properly assessed and that you have been tested to ensure that you are creating this new paradigm and not just contributing more unqualified people into the world who get to claim they have a qualification, but actually all they did was pay money. So it's really a big point of difference for me, and you can see I'm quite passionate about it, even though you might think on the outside, assessments, yeah, sexy, Ricky, how has this got to do with anything? Well, actually, it's got everything to do with everything. It's how we differentiate ourselves from other schools or other organizations out there in this unregulated industry who might claim that they're able to, assure you that you are qualified to a certain standard, but actually, how are they measuring that? How are you being assessed? And what level of rigor is there in that assessment? So one of the great benefits to me this year, unexpectedly, Elisha Halpin has come on as a lead mentor for the third level early. It was always a plan that she would come on to the program, but we're really blessed that she was able to come on into this role early. And Alicia's background, like mine, is as an academic. However, she is still a tenured academic at the State University of Pennsylvania, and she is deeply still enmeshed in that world, even though she is also a spiritual leader and creating all of her own amazing work through Wildly Radiant, and now blessedly for us as part of the Institute. And Alicia's role is really right now so important, because one of her areas of expertise inside of her university is in this creation of assessment processes. And so her understanding and knowledge is just profound. And so I have no doubt that this next intake of the third level and the students who are halfway through are going to be receiving this incredibly clear assessment criteria and really, really rigorous understanding of what we're expecting of them. I know that one of my weaker areas is I'm very good at the big picture and I'm really excited about what I want you to understand and know, but actually how do I get you to clearly understand and be able to demonstrate to me what it is that I'm asking for? And Alicia is like, I'm sending her through the idea and then she sends it back, like, and it's just this absolute clarity. And it is so exciting because all of this will be taken into the creation of the assessment process for the next intake of the postgraduate group as well. So really globally, the Institute is up-leveling its assessment processes, assessment criteria, the explanation of what's expected of the students and what we are providing in return in terms of feedback, and creating a philosophy around why we assess. So I'm just going to keep talking about this because it is so exciting to me. Our core philosophy around the understanding of why and how we assess has also really evolved because of these deep conversations with Alicia. Now, if you've seen Alicia and I in conversation recently, we sat down together to talk about racial justice or anywhere else, you'll see that she and I just really have a beautiful way of communicating with each other and really spark off each other. And so every time I hear Alicia talk about anything from assessment processes to the true nature of reality, I get excited and inspired to do better. And so what Alicia and I have been talking about is, what is the intention of assessing anything? You know, why don't we just kind of go, oh, well, you know, if the person's intentions are good and, you know, they want to do good things in the world, just let them go and be. And what is it that we want them to attain after they qualify? And that's the really big part about it, because even though when you come into the third level, you're like, oh, a year is a really long time. It goes in a flash, right? All of my beautiful priestesses who are here now will confirm that. You think it's going to be a long time, but actually it isn't. And really the depth and power of the program now is such that we could run it as a 3-year undergraduate program. And I actually think that may be a model we move to in the future, because it really isn't training in a modality, and it isn't training in, you know, any one thing. It is really absolutely, as we said jokingly in our conversation, Alicia and I, it's really like a bachelor's degree in not shit spirituality. It's deep spirituality, deep work of a deep faith that's demonstrated through partly this assessment process of committing to your devotion every day for a year of you know, deepening into the training within the program, which includes multiple modalities, but actually really being the demonstration out of what it is that you're learning. And so the assessment process has to match that. And so the philosophy that we're taking up based on these conversations with Alicia is that this assessment process is about self-reliance. So when you graduate, you know, some women will come into the postgrad, but the majority of the women won't. And how can I support you to become self-reliant, self-assessing of the quality of your work? Is it actually good enough? Are you actually doing a good enough job? And if you're relying on me to tell you that, then, or any of the mentors, then we have a problem, because when that finishes, you are going to not know how to tune in to yourself and actually be able to say, have I met my own standards and expectations? Have I met the standards and expectations of what I've been trained by? And so we've created this approach now, which I just love so much, which will still mean that you get the level of feedback that you need, but that built into the assessment process is, it's not just the pre-work of research, it's not just the submission of the assessment, which is, you know, submit whatever it is that we've set you or assigned as your task, but then the third phase of your assessment process is to self-assess and self-grade. So we'll give you the criteria to do that. We will, you know, give you the exact number of points that you need to attain a certain grade, but we'll give you the questions that you need to be asking of yourself. Did I meet the expectations of the Institute? Did I meet my own expectations? Did I do what was being asked of me? And to go through that process as part of your assessment to self-assess means that you aren't going to be like, behaving like a naughty schoolgirl who's like, I'm just going to slide on in with the bare minimum amount of work to get this out of my, you know, to-do list and move on and forget about it. And maybe I might get shitty feedback, or maybe someone's less than impressed with me, but whatever, I just tick the box. No box ticking allowed. And that is so exciting to me. And that will be carried into the postgraduate program even more rigorously, because the postgraduate program is 100% about self-reliance and about, you know, self-leadership. And so being able to be self-referential and being able to determine not just to do the work, but then to actually be able to have that that capacity to self-reflect and be self-referential means that we're genuinely creating leaders, and we're genuinely contributing things to the world that are of the highest possible standard. Do you see? This is not about just showing up, doing the bare minimum and getting a certificate, because it's so easy to do that. You can pay people money on the internet in this field, in this spiritual industry, and get a qualification that actually meant that all you did was just, turned up. I don't understand that. It's an anathema to me. It doesn't produce the quality that we know that we're capable of. And it relies on the person without any support or guidance to be able to be self-determining. What we're doing in this way of approaching assessment and having a philosophy of assessment is that we are deeply embedding a consciousness within each and every woman of what it is to take ownership of your contribution to the world, and through your sacred service. Of course, that's what we're most interested in. So that will be brought into our current group of priestesses who are about to step into the leadership phase, the second half of the program, our new priestesses who will beginning on July 6th, and of course our postgrads who begin at the end of July will all be inducted into this new philosophy that the Institute is bringing on of what assessment means. And to be able to contribute to an unregulated industry, what a gold standard is incredibly exciting. So that is the work that I'm doing right now. And coming out of that week off, it's kind of perfect. And as I say, I'm very slow. I'm being very gentle with myself, and I'm giving myself permission to kind of sit with it, because it's not work that I want to hurry through. I don't want to tick and just get it done, which is very much my nature, is like get the to-do list done. But I'm giving myself permission, preparing for the last ever postgrad module for this group of postgrad priestesses, at the same time as looking to the future, preparing the welcome packs. I just ordered some just amazing bling for our incoming postgraduate priestesses, and some amazing gifts that are going to be in your welcome pack. That was really fun. So I feel like there's lots and lots going on for me and for the Institute right now, but we're in this beautiful kind of space in between. And I love that space. I really adore that space, because it is our opportunity to say, how can I do better? What is it that we can contribute more of? How can we refine? And, the goddess Saraswati is that goddess for me of study, and sitting in the space of being with your deep thinking, your contemplation, of refining your ideas. And it is an aspect of the work of the postgraduate program, very much the refinement of ideas. The women who are coming into the next intake are, all of them already, no matter how recently they finish the third level, women in the world who have a sense of what their service is about. But the difference between someone who has a sense of what their service is about and the refinement of those ideas to the level of kind of exquisite congruence with what God wants for you takes time. And that refinement for me as the principal of this institute will never end. The evolution of the third level is evidence of that. And as I say, I'm not afraid of this idea of turning this into, a 3-year undergraduate program, and actually inviting the women to go so deep into their work, because I can see already by taking the 8-day retreat into an 8-week term how much more we are able to achieve. And, imagine if we could spend, even longer embedding ourselves in these experiences and these tools, and really committing to that level of study that you do when you go to university. So it's all incredibly exciting for me to be able to sit with all of this. And it's hard, like it goes, as I say, it goes against my kind of nature, which is just kind of big picture, big ideas and broad brushstrokes, and to actually get into the nuance and the refinement takes a level of kind of self-discipline, but that is the work as well. And it really is, something that I, as I say, every intake of the third level teaches me more about the program, and the women teach me more about what is needed. And really that is, and then life happens, and COVID teaches me more about what's possible for the programs that I offer, and taking those opportunities to be unafraid to evolve is really, really powerful. And to know that every intake will be different. different, as it will be with the postgraduate, but that is as it should be, because if something stays fixed, to me, that is failure, because we are evolving so rapidly as a human consciousness right now that if we're not responsive to the world and the needs of the world, and the collective consciousness as it awakens, then we're not actually evolving. And that's why when you come into the third level, you're not learning something fixed. You're not sort of, you will learn something very rigorously and in great detail, but the fluidity of it exists in, once you know the rules, you can break them and you can take that work out into the world in congruence with who you are as the leader of that material. And I find that incredibly exciting. We are not in the age where ideas that were once true will necessarily be true even in 6 months' time, because of the rapid acceleration of our consciousness, and we must be agile and responsive to that. That is what leadership is. So I feel like I'm having a great fun time sharing with you. I also wanted to just give you a bit of an update on, what's happening with me. As you know, I've been sharing more and more about my own personal evolution with the ending of my marriage at the beginning of the year. And we're now moving into our week on, week off model. So this model of birds nesting that I think I've shared with you before, but we're now doing it. So my Julian, my former husband, now brother, he is currently at our apartment in a suburb in Melbourne, and I am in the family home with my children, and I'll be here until Sunday. And Sunday we'll have lunch. This week we'll have lunch with my family, my mum and dad as well, and that will be the handover day. And then I'll go to the apartment, and Julian will be here in the family home with the boys. And we're up to the 3rd week of that, and it's going really well. I'm really proud of everybody involved and how well that's unfolding. And I shared a little about this idea of how that's, how I'm reflecting on what that feels like, and it feels like boom, boom. And what I mean by that is, instead of a boom bust model, like, 1 week I have everything, the next week I have nothing, it's like boom, boom. 1 week I have the best of getting to be with the mystic and being in my service role and being, deeply enmeshed in that kind of interior life, that Saraswati energy, as well as some Lakshmi energy. There's a lot of fun and play going on as well right now. But then in the week with my children, it's not a kind of, it's more boom. It's more of this beautiful, very different energy, but the responsibility of the dog and 3 cats and 2 children and a home and the food shopping and all of those things that come with running a family home versus living in a bachelorette apartment. These contrasts are boom, boom, and it feels like a really rich and full life. And I'm still working out the balance. I'm still figuring out how to do it really well, but it feels really just divine and divinely gifted. And yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on that, because I know some of you have been following along with that. And for me, there is no work life, home life. There is just my life, and my life is service, and my service is being congruent. And that finding congruence in this way of being with the world is so much part of my service. So I cannot be in service in the greatest possible way unless I am absolutely congruent in all parts of my life. And that's been a big, beautiful blessing of stepping into this new phase of my life. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you and let you know how it's all been unfolding. And so yes, I'm now sitting in my office in my family home, and just really embracing that, and the 3 p.m. pickups, and the all of the things that go with that phase of life as well. And yeah, just feeling really, really good. So that is my check-in. Thank you for letting me share, especially around the assessment stuff. It is a huge point of difference for the Institute. It's something that we get a lot of really beautiful feedback about. And I think that is being recognized now. We're now 8 intakes in. Next month, the Institute celebrates its 5th birthday. Yes, believe it or not, we are 5 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me it was our 50th birthday. I feel like I've been doing this forever. But it is our 5th birthday next month, and we'll celebrate with our 8th intake of the 3rd level, our 2nd intake of the postgraduate program. And that point of difference, I feel, is recognized, and it is becoming more and more acknowledged by those who choose to train with the Institute, that this matters and that this is something that is very, very different to the other ways in which you can train your spirituality in the world. And it's not for everyone, but it is absolutely my model and you know, my training and my background. And I always say there's never any accident with what you've done in your life prior to kind of stepping into your spiritual work. And for me, becoming an academic and attaining a PhD, I understand it now, was so that I was equipped with the skills that I needed to bring this level of academic rigor to spiritual work. And some people say it's unnecessary, it's innate. We're all spiritual beings. We all have intuition. You don't need to have this kind of, you know, very, well, some people would argue that it's masculine or man-made or whatever hierarchical model of learning. But to me, we're evolving the academic model and we're bringing the best parts of it into an unregulated industry. And as such, we're contributing to a new paradigm. You know, we are absolutely evolving the model and we're creating something completely new out of that is the equity or the balance between the masculine and feminine. And that is not just, oh, just trust it, it's the vibe of the thing, you know, go along with it. It's just, you know, whatever, be vague. That's what spiritual people do, versus this kind of, you know, if you can't demonstrate your certificate to me, then you have failed and you're not a good spiritual person. Neither of those models are what we're talking about. We're talking about the integration of the understanding that our skill as an intuitive being will always be able to improve, increase, and grow in power, but it takes discipline, it takes commitment, it takes rigor, it takes assessment, it takes having mentorship that you know is pushing you to go further and agitating you to reach higher, and not just comforting your littleness. So for me, we are absolutely creating a new model that is that absolute equity, that balance between these two ways of being, these energies in the world, and I'm so excited by those who are stepping into that, because I think that we're going to break down a lot of bullshit and we're going to create a lot of possibility, and we are the demonstration of that. So I'm going to leave you there. I think that's all I want to share with you. As I say, I don't know how you're feeling this week, but for me, it's very gentle, slowly, you know, just being, someone just reminded me that I'm premenstrual with love. They reminded me I'm premenstrual. And, you know, just honoring what my body's doing. And that's perfect Saraswati energy, of course, that inner, you know, the veils become thin. We move within, much more stillness, not wanting to be out there in that Lakshmi energy kind of, you know, dancing and singing, but actually just coming into that still point within and doing this review, reflection, connecting to our intuition in deeper and deeper ways. And that's the blessing of Saraswati's energy. And, you know, just being with that stillness is a really great way for me to tap into, this is the right energy for me to be doing this process of review and of our assessment processes. So that's happening globally across the Institute. It's very exciting work. It's deep work. It can't be hurried. And I'm giving myself permission to enjoy it. That's it. That's my last thought I want to share with you is, you know, if your service feels heavy, come back to the joy in it. It's okay for you to feel joy, even in the heavy things. And it doesn't all have to happen at once. And I think that's one of the big traps I fall into, is wanting to, once I see how something can be improved, I want to do it immediately and have it resolved immediately. And it's okay for things to take time. It's okay for things to evolve into their being and to, you know, be committed to making them happen, but not to need them to happen immediately, which I need to hear, because I do like things to happen immediately. Hey, I have loved hanging out with you all. Thank you. And I will be around doing things and connecting in. And yeah, I'm going to go now and hang out with my postgrads for our very last online module, and then, yeah, probably just do a little bit more of this assessment refinement. Let me know how you're all doing. So much love. Bye.